Hello class, we are doing lesson 4.4, which the title is Graphing Linear Equations in something called Slope-Intercept form. Now we're just going to kind of start with some vocabulary words, okay? The x-intercept it's pretty much where your line crosses the x-axis. So if you look at this graph here, my x-intercept is a comma 0, so it might be, in that sense, it's like a positive number. Now, something that we know, we don't know what this a number is, but what we do know is that it's always going to be 0. Right? It's always going to be some number comma 0 for an x-intercept. Okay? Second vocabulary word is called the y-intercept, and it's really the same thing, only it is this purple point right here. It is the point where my diagonal line crosses the y-axis. Now, again, we might not know what this b number is, but we do know that it's always going to be 0 comma something. So even here, it might be 0 comma 3, or even down here, it might be 0 comma -1, or something like that. So what we know is that the y-intercept and the x-intercept are the points where the line crosses the y-axis. Now, this phrase, slope-intercept form, it's like the name of the way an equation is written, okay? So, for example, we see examples like y equals 3x plus 2. We've seen equations like that. This is something called slope-intercept form, okay? The reason why it's called that, because it tells you a slope and it tells you the y-intercept, okay? Not the x-intercept, but the y-intercept. So if you look at this little diagram here, m, again, is the slope, okay? We saw that before. M is the slope. Slope, again, is the directions. And then the b is the y-intercept, okay? I think if we go through an example, it'll make a little bit more sense. Scroll down to the page here. So let's just go through example 1. Now, it says, find the slope and the y-intercept of the graph of each linear equation. Now, we're not going to actually graph yet. They just want you to identify, okay? The slope is always the one next to the m. Alright, so my m in this case is just -4. And then my y-intercept, which I'll do in red here, is this number without the x. Now, if it's a negative, it's a minus, then you have to keep in mind that it's going to be a negative. And so what that tells me a coordinate point, 0 comma -2. Okay, so whatever that number is, it's a coordinate point, 0 comma whatever that number. Okay, now for part B, it's just not ready yet because you got to get y by itself. Okay, slope-intercept form is y by itself. So how do I get rid of this -5? We have to add 5 on both sides. Okay, and then so that cancels, and we have y, which is by itself now, 3 over 2x, and then 5 plus 5 is 10. So now I have y by itself, so this is in slope-intercept form. Again, I'll do my slope in blue. My slope is 3 over 2. Okay, so 3 over 2. And then in red, my y-intercept, which is a coordinate point, is 0 comma whatever that number is, which is a positive 10 in this case. Okay, 0 comma positive 10. Alright, yeah, if you need to watch that part again, go ahead and rewind just for a couple minutes, and then just watch it. Now that you're done writing, just pause, watch the video, rewatch it, okay? If you feel like you can do it on your own, then move on to the on your owns in numbers 1 and 2. Pause the video, move on to the on your owns numbers 1 and 2. here's my first on your own problem. My slope, again, is the number right in front of the x, so that's 3. And then my y-intercept is 0, -7. Okay? Try number 2 again on your own. So hopefully you notice that y is not by itself, so you have to get it by itself in order to be slope-intercept form. So you add it by 1, and then now you can find what the slope and the y-intercept is. The slope, you guessed it, -2/3. And then the y-intercept in red is the +1, so 0, 1. So that's what we have just for our first example. I just want you to identify the slope and the y-intercept. Okay? Again, if you need to pause the video and watch it again, just rewind, take a little bit of time there. Otherwise, let's move on to the next page. Okay, now, so we are now actually going to graph example 2. Okay, so just kind of follow the steps. It says graph y is equal to -1/3 x plus 3, then identify the x-intercept. So 2 things we got to do. Okay, let's graph it first. Now, what we've been doing before is to use this xy table. You don't have to do that anymore. Okay, you don't have to do that anymore. There is now a shortcut. Okay, so I'm going to identify my slope. My slope is -1/3, and keep in mind with negative fractions, just put the negative in the numerator here, okay? And then in red, my y-intercept is 0, 3, okay? 0, 3. Now, the y-intercept, and step 2 is kind of a repeat, my y-intercept is 3, so I'm going to plot the coordinate point 0, 3. So where's 0, 3 on the graph? Okay, here it is right here. I'm going to make a point right there. Okay, that's my y-intercept. I got that from the equation, my red part in the equation. Okay, now step 3 says use the slope, -1/3, to find another point and draw the line. Now think about what slope is. Slope is direction. Okay, so -1 in the numerator, 3 in the denominator. We got to remember, -1, is that up or down 1? That's right, it's down 1. Okay, +3 in the denominator, is that right or left 3? That is a right 3. Okay, and so I'm going to start at my red coordinate point, and I'm going to go down 1 to the right, 1, 2, 3, and I'm going to put another coordinate point right where I land. Okay, and then if you want to, you can just keep going, down 1 to the right, 3, down 1 to the right. Well, this one kind of gets onto the graph. Okay, but everywhere I go down 1 to the right, 3, I'm going to put a nice coordinate point there. Okay, now let's say, look at the y-intercept again. Okay, right here. Instead of down 1 to the right 3, if I go the opposite, I can go up 1. Whoops. I can go up 1 to the left 3. I can go up 1 to the left 3. And these then are my other coordinate points going the other way. Okay? Now, what I'm going to do now is I'm going to take a nice little ruler, and I'm going to try my best to draw a straight line. Okay, well that's my best attempt right there. Okay, now this line is representing the equation y equals -1/3 x plus 3. Now there's this part right here. It says identify the x-intercept. The x-intercept, again, the definition is where does my line cross the x-axis. So actually, if you notice on the bottom right here, we didn't go down all the way, but if I were to keep going down 1 to the right, 1, 2, 3, I would land right here on the x-axis. What is that coordinate point? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 0. My x my x-intercept is 9, 0. Okay? That's how we can, it's a shortcut to graphing. I know it seems like a lot of steps, but now we no longer have to make a table. You can just use the equation and the slope and the y-intercept to graph. Okay? You know what? Let's scroll down to example 3 and try that example. So if you need to see that example 2 again, just pause the video, rewind to that, and just kind of watch it, okay? Example 3 is more of a real life example. So it says the cost y in dollars of taking a taxi x miles is y is equal to 2 times x plus 1. Okay, now notice y is the amount of money, x is the number of miles. Okay, it says graph the equation. Okay, I'm gonna put a box in blue around my slope, that's my m. I'm gonna put a box in red around my y-intercept, and that is 0, 1. It's a coordinate point. Okay, now I'm gonna graph this. So I'm gonna find 0, 1. There it is. Now I'm going to look at my blue slope. This would be most helpful in a fraction because 2 over 1, positive 2 over positive 1, that tells me up 2 and right 1. So I'm going to go back to 0, 1. I'm going to go up 2, right 1. Up 2, right 1. Or, and then I'm going to put coordinate points here. Okay, put coordinate points there. Or I can go down 2 to the left 1, down 2 to the left 1, down 2 to the left 1. I like to just make it go through the whole graph. I don't know why I like to do that, but, and then just make sure you have a nice little line that goes through all of those coordinate points. Okay, you might need a ruler for that. Alright? Now, here's where it gets a little bit tricky. It says interpret the y-intercept and slope, meaning we got to go back to that taxi situation. Okay, the slope is 2. Slope is 2. Okay, so what that means is the cost per mile is $2. So it costs $2 per mile for this taxi. The y-intercept is 1. So what that means is the moment you enter the taxi, you have to pay $1. Okay? Even though you didn't go anywhere, you just have to pay that $1. It's an initial fee. Okay? So that is our example 3 real life application. If you need to pause, rewind, watch it again. Otherwise, here's where it's going to get a little tough. I want you to try on your own number 1 and number 2. Now, on your own number 1, let me just make a note before you pause the video. If you notice on your own number 1, we have y is equal to x minus 4. There is an invisible 1 in front of that x. Okay? That might help you a little bit. Pause the video. Try your best to graph this equation. Look at the other examples that you've written down. Okay, for now I've at least identified what my slope is from the equation and what my y-intercept is. My slope is 1, my y-intercept is -4, okay? So I'm going to use my y-intercept. I'm going to go to 0, -4, and I'm just going to graph, so 0, -4, right down here. And then my fraction 1 over 1 is up 1 to the right 1. There are all of my coordinate points when I do up 1 to the right 1. Or even if you want to go the other way, if I go down 1 to the left 1, down 1 to the left 1, down 1 to the left 1, there are some other coordinate points. And then I'm going to take my ruler and draw a nice straight line that cuts across there. There's my graph. Okay, my x-intercept, maybe I'll do that one in purple. X-intercept is where it crosses the x-axis. That coordinate point is 4, 0. That's my x-intercept. Okay. Number 2. Pause the video. Try number 2. So I went ahead and actually graphed the whole thing so that you can kind of check what you have. Check your graph, make sure we have the same thing. Alright, so y-intercept is using my slope here. If you need to watch any part of this video, pause the video, just go back, rewind. But this is like our shortcut to how you graph a linear equation in slope-intercept form.